Today we're going to do one of my favourite morning routines, a mix of yoga, qigong and anything I've picked up along the way. I quite like this, starting with just standing and rotating on my heel to get a bit of movement into my leg, movement into my pelvis, movement into my upper body. And then I quite often like to just relax my arms and have a bit of relaxation for my neck and shoulders, turning around, also connecting a bit with the space around my body. That's why I quite like, when I can, to do it outside, to just really feel the space, the air against my skin. And then I also quite like to do just a few movements, just swinging, bending my knees, getting a bit of energy moving through my whole body, just feeling my rhythm. So bringing my arms up, if that's comfortable for you. Obviously just listen to your body if you don't want to bring your arms up quite so high, but I quite like a nice stretch and even going slightly back. It's just a little warm up of different, well, of my whole body. And then to focus a little bit more on my breath, I like this movement where I'm breathing in, and then a big relax. So great. So I've relaxed my arms a little bit, got some flow and circulation through my arms. I quite like to do some balancing ones. I start with a simple balancing yoga tree pose, holding your toes, trying to bring your knee together, feeling your pelvis. I like to add in a little bit connecting with my heart, with my breasts, and just then opening my hand up like this to open up my armpit. And if I'm outside, I focus on a tree and imagine I'm being a tree. And every day is different. Some days I can stand for longer. Then I like to come back into the centre. And then, of course, I want to do the other side. Nice stretch for my calf. It's also penetrating vessel, connecting with the heart. Connect with your heart, your breasts, your chest. Open up the armpit, stretching over your head. One side you might find you can stay a lot longer than the other side. Nice stabilising pose for the start, even indeed for the end of the day. Coming back to your heart, coming back to your centre. Then you could try slightly more balancing one, standing on one leg, holding your foot. Holding your knee. I like to move my foot a little bit in this. And then if I can stretch out, that's great for my abdominal muscles, reaching up to the sky. You can either do it that way, or you can take hold of your toes, give them a stretch, open up, and then even perhaps open up to the side. That's quite challenging if you fall, if you wobble. Some days you're strong, you have more balance than others. It's good to wobble too. It's also good to come back to the centre and to pause. And then do the same the other side. It might be much easier or much harder. So really breathing out, engage your core. You might even want to use your breath. Then if you want to hold the foot, I'm much more wobbly on this side today. It's good to see me wobble because some days I wobble. And then opening up. Good to really come back to your centre, to your core, to your hara, and then come, and then. Okay, this one's quite nice again. Just swinging, just relaxing your arms. I like to do some things for strengthening my arms to help me with my work in the garden. With Shiatsu we're doing a lot from the abdomen. So this one will come into a downward dog putting your hands down and just feeling your arms for a moment. Just coming back and forth and playing with it, lifting up a leg, bringing it in, stretching in and out, just warming up your legs and your arms a little bit more, going at your own pace, staying there as long as you, or a little as you want, being quite fluid. And then I quite like to come into a squat to just open up my pelvis, but just rotating in the squat. If a squat is too much with your hands over your heart, just put your hands on the ground and rotate. And just feel that movement into your hips, into your pelvis, into your lower back. And maybe you can bring your palms together. When we're doing Shiatsu, we're often in similar positions to this, so I find this helps. And then also to bring my arms in front and to just come up slowly into the midline, maybe bringing my arms even up, opening out into the space, pausing for a moment. Lungs in Chinese medicine, I like this lung stretch. So you take your thumbs and your index finger, you link them together, and so then you touch your index fingers and then slightly open around beginning of your lung meridian near the lungs, open up your chest, and then breathe out, coming down and just holding this for a few breaths. Nice, long, slow, deep out breaths. Making sure you relax your head, neck and shoulders. Do come up when you've had enough. I often like to come up on the out breath to just relax into the standing upright position. If it's okay on your lower back, you could even open up slightly, open the lung meridians even more, but only if that's okay on your lower back. And it's quite good to repeat it a second time. And then slowly ease up, stretch back a bit, open up your arms, stretch up to the sky, and then come back down, opening your hands, and then we'll go back into the downward dog, putting your hands, you might want to just walk back to feel your way into downward dog this way, and then walk a little bit. Relax your head, relax your shoulders. Maybe try going into a plank if that's okay for you. Again, for my arms, I want to try and do a few little push-up type movements if I can, making sure you're engaging your core. If the arms are no good, use your forearms. So you can swing back and forth. And then come down. Again, watch your lower back. If it's okay to come down into the yoga sphinx, watch your lower back. And just move your head, just feeling into the movements side to side. Moving your head, looking over your shoulder, getting some movement into your neck. Play with this a bit. I also, because I am quite tight in my shoulders, quite like to do the same kind of lung stretch, or both my hands clasped and lift up my chest and neck. But if it's too strong for you, don't do that. But also, for my back, again, if it's too strong, don't do that. Hold your feet and go into the yoga boat pose. My back loves these positions, but not everybody's back does. So don't ever force. Hold it as long or as little as it feels good for you. Play with it, yeah, rock a bit, come down, swing your feet. Play. I love playing with taking a basic pose and playing with it. Come back into the plank if you want. come back into downward dog, and this time we're going to lift up your left leg, bring it forward between your hands, and again I like to just play a bit, stretching forward and back in these positions, getting energy flowing through my limbs, my meridians, my joints. Then another balance, taking your hands behind you, really grounding into your feet and bringing your arms up to the sky. In this position, I quite like to do a movement that's great for my breasts and chest and armpits, the auxiliary nodes, great for women especially, to free energy in the upper body. So you really stretch up and then release, stretch up and release, stretch up and release. Just gets energy flowing in your chest, and then after a while we'll do it in the other position. For my back, I just like to turn one way and then slowly come to the centre. So I'm still in the runner's lunge. Turn the other way. Again, it's quite a good balance, but my shoulders really need it. I focus on my hara, my abdomen. I come back. I tend to like to do that a couple of times. Looking back to the centre, focusing, and then looking behind me, the lovely flowers. And then I quite like doing these warrior positions, but quite fluidly, just kind of feeling up into the sky, opening my arm over my head, looking to my hand, up and then back, just playing with it, feeling the strength in my lower body and feeling the lightness in my upper body. You can always stay for a while if you want. My shoulders love this. Look up to the sky, looking forwards and looking back. And then quite like to turn my feet to open up. Do the lung opening for my upper body, but also come down, stretching out the inside of my legs. And taking a pause, a moment, to just feel all of this in my body. Relaxing my head, neck and shoulders. And then turning back to the front, still with my arms as they are, and leaning down on the inside of my front leg. Humble warrior. And then placing my hand on the inside of my foot, just turning around to get again rotation in my upper back, hands to the sky, and then I can come down back into a downward dog, first lifting my leg, then coming down into my plank, trying to do a few more press-ups here if I can, coming back down, choosing your favourite of those other positions I did, maybe opening your arms and your chest, maybe holding your feet, or maybe you just want to go into child's pose and stretch out your lower back and have a rest. I also like this for opening up my hips and my neck, and from there stay there as long as you want, but you can come through plank if you want. You can come into downward dog. I usually like to add a couple of squats in here. A couple of squats. I squat and then I come up and then I stretch back for my lungs to the sky, and then we'll do the other side. So the other side, coming down. In the way, you could walk it back or jump it back or whatever you want to do. Doing it all with your right leg now. Coming forward and up and moving around. And then bringing your right leg forward. Doing a little bit of rocking, freeing up energy in your lower body and your abdomen. Then the balancing one. bringing your arms slowly up to balance, and then the arms for the lymph, for the chest, pumping up and down. And then our shoulder ones coming to one side, looking behind, coming forwards, turning to the other side, still up on your back foot. I like to do that twice. My shoulders need that. And then putting my foot to second warrior and just playing around with this a little bit, stretching forward, looking up to the sky, looking up to my hand, looking right upwards to the heavens, stretching, looking forwards is quite good. Where am I going today? What am I doing? And then just back to open, so I'm not going too rigidly forward. I can always come back, or I can have my focus and I can relax, or I can go forward this way, a bit more open to the sky, opening up my arm, and then the open star to the space, leaning forwards, maybe bringing my hands together over my head, breathing and pausing. And then turning, again another slight balance, relaxing my head, neck and shoulders. And then bringing my hands down, stretching my other arm up, again rotation for my shoulders, looking up. And then downward dog, maybe just wiggling your hips. Maybe you're tired by now, and then press ups. I try and get some in if I can. And then slowly coming down, maybe holding for a moment, and then coming up, whichever version you want to do. And remembering arms behind, or legs, the boat, or just coming in to child's pose and resting. And then maybe we'll come here, and again for Shiatsu, in a lot of positions we're kind of on our toes, so this one where you come onto your toes, up onto your toes, bringing your knees down. So often in Shiatsu either doing something like this or like this, so we can bring our arms up. And again I like this, bringing from the heaven down into my chest, feeling the space. And then I come to my heart. And then I quite like to just bring my feet together. This is a nice, in Chinese medicine we do it more, opening the heart and small intestine end in the little finger. So nice space under your armpit, bringing your arms forward. But an alternative as well is to just rock. I quite like that, rocking my sacrum, my pelvis. It's a nice gentle move. And bringing it all in. By now my dog's getting ready to go for a run, but he's usually out. If it's a run outside, he comes and says, now it's time for a run, but not yet, Lockie. Just have to wait a little bit more while I just do a few more movements with my arms and off the mat. You're not meant to be on the mat. He likes touching my toes. This is in Chinese medicine for bladder and kidney meridian as well. So you can just come up and stretch and move your hands. Yeah, I like to do also some movements with my hands a bit, because again, doing Shiatsu, or if you play the piano, just have a few movements, maybe even shaking the hands out a little bit. And then coming to make sure that we want to stretch the kidney meridian, the front of the body, also linked to the penetrating vessel. So try and really bring your heart forward. It doesn't matter if your arms don't touch your feet. They can touch your legs. You can even rest your elbows on your legs and have a nice opening of your heart. That's quite important for this movement. It's not just the calf stretch. Really open your heart, coming up to the sky, breathing out, coming forward, touching your feet if you are able to, or your ankles, or resting your elbows, and just breathing. Letting everything settle, slowing down, coming up. If it feels comfortable for you to engage your hara, draw your knees in and go into the yoga boat pose, either legs extended, or quite often I just like to move my knees and also move my hands to get just a bit of movement through my body while still engaging my core. And then a nice rotational movement, stretching up to the sky again, hugging my knee in, moving around. 3 burners in Chinese medicine: lower abdomen, middle abdomen, upper, the heart and the chest. Relaxing your shoulders, rotating round, resting here for a few breaths. And then if you want to try this, again, I say my shoulders are quite stiff, so I come forwards with my hand, I reach it around my leg, with the other I reach it behind, and I get a nice opening for my shoulders, and to keep my spine upright. I had to work on this one after I hurt my shoulder, but I find it's great for my shoulders. And then again, unwinding out of it, I think, is quite a nice thing. Doing any movements you need to in between, not being in a rush to do the next movement, just allowing the flow of energy through your body, maybe even doing a few movements in the space around your body, then coming up to the sky, down to the earth, taking your other leg, hugging it in with the opposite arm, and rotating around the hand behind. 3 burners: lower, middle, upper. Then the arm that you've wrapped around, that you've hugged in, this is the harder part, so you can just stay with this part, bringing your arm up, then with the other arm lean forward. Maybe that's enough, but if you can wrap it around, take the other arm up now, and then turn around. Great for mobility in the spine, governing vessel, conception vessel. Just stay here for a few breaths. Never strain if it's too much, just move, wiggle. We're gradually slowing down. So lifting up and coming back to your centering. This is bladder and kidney, but governing and conception vessel. If you want to engage your core a bit and it's okay for you, then just lifting your legs, maybe doing a few movements, and your arms, and then going into the yoga bridge pose. So lying down and just coming up, stretching your arms behind you. Stay with that if you want. I quite like to challenge myself, but only do this if it feels good for you. Going into the bow posture, tucking your feet in. Again, my upper back's quite tight. I can usually do it for a bit. But only a bit. And then slowly coming down. hugging my knees in. Again, I personally find shoulder stand is quite good for me, but you might not like to do shoulder stand, so just hug your feet in and maybe take one leg and twist to one side. Or take both knees, do a little bit of circling, releasing out your sacrum. And you could do extending one leg and just twisting your other leg over to the side. If you want to be doing a shoulder stand and plough, I quite like inverted positions. I'll just do that briefly. You can play around with it, or go backwards into the flowers, maybe bending your knees. And then maybe going back into your shoulder stand. And then gradually, you can use your hands here, lowering slowly down. Down, slow as is comfortable. Just extending your legs and maybe arching your neck back if that's good for your neck. I find that's quite good for my neck, the fish pose. And then just rest with your hands on your hara, breathing slowly and deeply. Maybe placing a hand on your heart and allowing your body to be fully supported by the earth. Staying there as long as is comfortable. You can just rest, but do make sure when you come up that you come up nice and slowly. Give your legs a bit of a wiggle, roll to one side. Actually, what I didn't do today, which I sometimes do more of, is coming into quite an important movement for Shiatsu, is crawling, but just being on all fours and gently moving and rocking the pelvis, circling one way, circling the other way, even doing some cat and cow movements just to get the spine moving, or side to side movements, just playing around a little bit in all fours. Sometimes I even do crawl around. But also from here, coming back into that kneeling position. So we're kind of just going through positions we've already done to just come out of our lying down, stretching out my toes, coming into squatting. Again, you might want to do some movements around in the squatting position, and then from the squat, slowly coming up to standing. And then I hope you're ready to do whatever you want to do in your day, feeling open to the space and what the new day holds, but also feeling connected to your heart, to your center, to your hara, to your lower burner, and to your heart. Thank you for sharing this practice with me.